Hey ghouls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be my most anticipated August releases for 2022. As always, these are just some of my most anticipated releases. There are so many books that come out each month, so if I happen to miss something that you're very excited about, definitely leave it in the comments down below, as well as for each book that I talk about, I will have information about the book on screen with me and in the description box. But let's just go ahead and get started. I'm very excited for all of these books that are coming out in the month of August. The first book that I have on my radar is Piñata by Leopoldo Gout, and this comes out August 2nd. This is a head full of ghosts meets Hereditary. So the description for this one: Carmen Sanchez is back in her home country of Mexico, overseeing the renovation of an ancient cathedral into a boutique hotel. Her teen daughters, Isel and Luna, are with her for the summer and left to fill their afternoons unsupervised in a foreign city. The locals treat the Sanchez women like outsiders, while Carmen's contractors openly defy and sabotage her work. After a disastrous accident at the construction site that nearly injures Luna, Carmen's had enough. They're leaving. Back in New York, Luna begins acting strange, and only Isel notices the chilling changes happening to her younger sister. But it might be too late for the Sanchez family to escape what's been awakened. Piñata is a bone-chilling story about how the sinister repercussions of our past can come back to haunt us. Again, this is one that has two very exciting comp titles for me. I have enjoyed both Hereditary and A Head Full of Ghosts. I love a good possession story. This just sounds right up my alley. Covers really cool as well. Next up, also coming out this second, this is another horror, and that would be The Honeys by Ryan Sala. This is about Mars, who has always been the lesser twin, the shadow to his sister Caroline's radiance. But when Caroline dies under horrific circumstances, Mars is propelled to learn all he can about his once inseparable sister, who'd grown tragically distant. Mars's gender fluidity means he's often excluded from the traditions and expectations of his politically connected family. This includes attendance at the prestigious Aspen Conservatory Summer Academy, where his sister poured so much of her time. But with his grief still fresh, he insists on attending in her place. What Mars finds is a fairy tale not meant for him. Folksy charm and sun-drenched festivities camouflage old-fashioned gender roles and a toxic preparatory rigor. Mars seeks out his sister's old friends, a group of girls dubbed the Honeys, named for the beehives they maintain behind their cabin. They're beautiful and terrifying, and Mars is certain they're connected to Caroline's death. But the longer he stays at Aspen, the more the sweet mountain breezes give way to hints of decay. Mars's memories begin to falter, bleached beneath the relentless summer sun. Something is hunting him in broad daylight, toying with his mind. If Mars can't find it soon, it will eat him alive. Again, sounds like a very spooky horror premise that I'm really going to enjoy. I especially really like horror where it kind of plays on expectations and kind of like subverts them a little bit. For example, like this is talking about a really prestigious school. It's really bright and cheerful, and we don't really think of horror kind of happening in the daylight. So I think that's going to be very creepy, with the very bright, very beautiful setting kind of turning more and more sinister. Very much looking forward to that one. Next up, coming out August 9th, we have These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. And this one, again, I feel like the comp titles lately have really been intriguing me. But this is supposed to be The Haunting of Hill House meets Knives Out. Very intrigued. Helen Vaughn doesn't know why she and her mother left their ancestral home at Harrowstone Hall, called Harrow, or why they haven't spoken to their extended family since. So when her grandfather dies, she's shocked to learn that he has left everything, the house, the grounds, and the money, to her. The inheritance comes with one condition: she must stay on the grounds of Harrow for 1 full year, or she'll be left with nothing. There is more at stake than money. For as long as she can remember, Harrow has haunted her dreams, and now those dreams have become a waking nightmare. Helen knows that if she is to survive the year, she needs to uncover the secrets of Harrow. With each twisted revelation, Helen questions what she knows about Harrow, her family, and even herself. She no longer wonders if she wants to leave, but if she can. So I'm very curious to see kind of the tone of this one, because comp titles, The Haunting of Hill House, I'm going to guess, kind of just based on the synopsis, it might be more of the show The Haunting of Hill House, maybe. So that is very different than Knives Out, which is like kind of like a murder mystery, but it's very comedic. Haunting of Hill House, the book, the movie, the TV show, none of those are very comedic. So I'm very interested to see the tone of this one regardless. I think now that's 3 kind of spooky haunted stories in a row. What can I say? Like, all of my August anticipated releases pretty much, except for 1 or 2 are horror. I have a type of anticipated books that I'm excited for. But yeah, I'm very interested based on those comp titles what the tone of this one's going to be. But regardless, I'm very intrigued. Like the inheritance story, haunted house story, I'm into it. Next up on my list, coming out August 16th, we have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I think this one might be a thriller just based on the last thing that I read by this author, which was In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. But the synopsis for this one says, while in college in upstate New York, Shay Evans and her best friends met a captivating man who seduced them with a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the only ones who managed to escape. Now, 8 years later, Shay's built a new life in a Texas suburb. But when she hears the horrifying news of Laurel's death, delivered of all ways by her favorite true crime podcast crusader, she begins to suspect that the past she thought she buried is still very much alive, and the predators more dangerous than ever. Recruiting the help of the podcast host, Shay goes back to the place she vowed never to return for in search of answers. As she follows the threads of her friend's life, she's pulled into a dark, seductive world where wealth and privilege shield brutal philosophies that feel all too familiar. When Shay's obsession with uncovering the truth becomes so consuming, she can no longer separate her desire for justice from darker desires newly reawakened. She must confront the depths of her own complicity and conditioning. But in a world built for men to rule it, both inside the cult and out of it, is justice even possible? And if so, how far is Shay willing to go to get it? Now, I do like podcasts in real life. In books, they're very hit or miss for me with elements, but I was really impressed by the last thing that I read by this author, and I've really been straying away from traditional thrillers this year, and I really just enjoyed the last thing from this author, so I'll pick this up. I'll give it a go. Cults also very hit or miss for me in terms of effectiveness and whether or not I enjoy the book, but this has enough going for it, and I've liked this author's work before that I am intrigued to see where it goes. So I am looking forward to giving this one a try. Again, this comes out the 16th of August. Next up on my list, coming out the 23rd of August, would be Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Kiste. Reluctant Immortals is a historical horror novel that looks at two men of classic literature, Dracula and Mr. Rochester, and the two women who survived them, Bertha and Lucy, who are now undead immortals residing in Los Angeles in 1967, when Dracula and Rochester make a shocking return to San Francisco. Combining elements of historical and gothic fiction with a modern perspective and a tale of love, betrayal, and coercion, Reluctant Immortals is the lyrical and harrowing journey of two women from classic literature as they bravely claim their own destiny in a man's world. I love vampire books, but like the more out there the vampire book, the better. I really enjoy Woman Eating by Claire Coda. I feel like is a really good example where it is a vampire book, but it's not necessarily just about vampires. It very much has vampires in it, but it's not something where you would think of like a stereotypical vampire story. That's what you'd go to. This sounds very interesting. Dracula and Mr. Rochester, San Francisco in the 1960s. This sounds very interesting. I do like historical fiction. I like gothic fiction. This one, and I can't tell the tone of this one either, but I am very intrigued to kind of see how all of like those elements kind of come into play, because when I think of almost reimaginings of like classic characters in literature, I would never have paired Dracula and Mr. Rochester, so I'm very intrigued to pick this up. It sounds like it's going to be a very interesting and unique vampire tale. And when I say last but not least on this list, because this is my most anticipated release of all year. In 2022, this is my most anticipated release. It is the book that I have the highest expectations for. I'm trying not to hype myself up so much, but it's just so hard because this author is the author of like one of my favorite fantasy trilogies of all time. I'm sure maybe you've guessed by now because I feel like so many people are excited about this one, but that would be Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, an arcane history of the Oxford Translators Revolution by R.F. Kuang that comes out August 23rd. An act of translation is always an act of betrayal. 1828. Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There he trains for years in Latin, Ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. Babel is the world's center of translation and, more importantly, of silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation through enchanted silver bars to magical effect. Silverworking has made the British Empire unparalleled in power, and Babel's research in foreign languages serves the Empire's quest to colonize everything it encounters. Oxford, the City of Dreaming Spires, is a fairy tale for Robin, a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge serves power, and for Robin, a Chinese boy raised in Britain, serving Babel inevitably means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to sabotaging the silverworking that supports imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide. Can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? What is he willing to sacrifice to bring Babel down? Babel is a thematic response to The Secret History and a tonal response to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of translation as a tool of empire. So, very excited about this one. I love the Poppy War trilogy. This one seems like it's going to be a very intriguing blend of historical fiction plus fantasy. I'm very intrigued to kind of see the silverworking, and obviously there are very much like real historical implications and definitely inspirations from what this book is going to be about, just with fantasy elements. It's dark academia, but I feel like it's dark academia where we've kind of strayed away from a lot of the points that dark academia as a genre is supposed to provide. Well, I do love a book that is just like all characterization and like, you know, vibes of dark academia. I love the dark academia atmosphere. I really enjoy this genre when it critiques academia and the institutions of academia, and the kind of different power structures and academia as a whole. So I'm really intrigued by this one. I think that just with the social commentary that was in the Poppy War, I think just reading the synopsis of this and knowing, kind of seeing R.F. Kuang following her journey, kind of writing this book and talking about her own experiences at Oxford. She experienced a lot of racism at Oxford, so I think that lens, I'm very intrigued to read this one. Early reviews have been raving about it, so I could not be more excited to pick this one up. This one is definitely one that I have pre-ordered. I feel like it's just going to be such a wonderful and immersive story, and I can't wait to pick it up. But there you have it. Those are my most anticipated releases for August. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel for more content from me. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!